Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Dr. Manhattan. In one of our previous videos, we talked about tank visors and their feasibility, examining the most elaborate examples of field visor construction, including the infamous turtle tank dubbed by the Daily Mail as the Blatt Mobile. We also explained the meaning of this word in detail in the previous video. Recently, their colleagues from Forbes called another turtle tank the homosexual, sparking a storm of questions from their readers across the internet about what could have prompted the Russians to name their tank that way. After all, it is well known that Russia is far from the most tolerant country, where homophobia is almost part of official state policy. Banning gay parades, closing relevant clubs, with the head of state openly stating that homosexuality is not normal. How could soldiers from such a country name their tank this way? It's very simple. The tank is named after a character with a name difficult to pronounce in English, Gromozeka, from a very popular Soviet cartoon in Russia called The Mystery of the Third Planet. This is what he looks like. In the cartoon, he's an alien clad in an iron spacesuit that emits characteristic metallic creaking sounds when moving. Therefore, it's not surprising that the tank was named after a giant iron alien, as it really looks somewhat unearthly. The topic of turtle tanks has gained even more popularity over the last few months, as new examples of field engineering masterpieces are being noticed all over the battlefields of Ukraine. In particular, the internet has been recently struck by a specimen looking like something straight out of hell, or at least from the Warhammer 40,000 universe. In this video, we will talk about the tactics and strategies of using turtle tanks, their strengths and weaknesses, and try to determine the prospects of this unusual means of armor protection against drones and anti-tank missiles. We all know that war is the strongest catalyst for the development of weaponry and military technology, often leading to the emergence of new means to counter those that are highly relied upon prior to the conflict. For instance, the widespread development of aviation and aircraft construction between the two world wars brought about fundamental changes in combat tactics and strategy, as well as military operation planning before World War II. Moreover, had the Allies not had the capability to airdrop a sabotage team during Operation Gunnerside, it's quite possible that the Third Reich would have developed nuclear bombs before the Allies, altering the course of the war and subsequent global history entirely differently. There is a separate video on this topic on the channel, see the link in the description below. The same thing can be observed today. While traditional artillery, aviation, or armored vehicles are indispensable in warfare, we can see how war shifts the vector of technological development so drastically that what seemed promising just yesterday often gives way to something entirely different, sometimes even absurd, but efficient. A vivid example of such evolution is the phenomenon of tank visors or canopies, whose history of origin and use we thoroughly examined in the previous episode. The thing is, it was previously believed that the primary threat to tanks came from anti-tank missile systems, especially those using guided missiles with homing capabilities. They were the major reason for active protection systems development, such as the Israeli trophy system used on many NATO vehicles, or systems like Drostarina or Afghanet developed in the Soviet Union and Russia. The threat from armor-piercing fin-stabilized discarding sabot rounds, or APFSDS, against which engineers continuously reinforced armor and enhanced dynamic protection, remains relevant today, despite the significant progress that has already been made in this area. As a result, the threat from traditional anti-armor munitions today significantly pales in comparison to the challenge posed by a new adversary: small plastic FPV kamikaze drones. Not only are they inexpensive, but they can also be assembled in any basement from readily available parts ordered on AliExpress. War, first and foremost, is an economic battle, and eventually the budgets of both sides run dry. Therefore, it is frustrating when a cheap drone is hit by an air defense missile that costs 10, 20 times more and that is produced in smaller quantities. But when a tank that costs between $3 to $8 million is hit by a $500 drone, it becomes truly tragic. Considering these risks, an urgent action was needed. It didn't take long for tanks to start becoming even more covered with anti-cumulative grids and more densely equipped with dynamic protection, including safeguarding vulnerable areas like gun mantlets or turret tops. As for protecting the upper part of armored vehicles, visors have become widely used. Initially conceived as makeshift protection against ATGMs targeting the roof, such as javelins or NLAWs, where they indeed effectively saved tank crews' lives, their true potential was revealed in another realm: anti-drone protection. Obviously, visors, especially their early variations, did not provide 100% protection, as they did not cover all the vulnerable areas of the tank where an FPV drone operator could direct his drone. That's why over time they started to grow. Later on, full-fledged chicken coops appeared, and then visor protection began to be factory-made. Some tank models, like the T-80, received individual double visors due to their unique construction, as they required an additional canopy to protect the air intake behind the turret. However, makeshift geniuses, being closer to real practice, were ahead, starting to build entire sheds on tracks, with turtle tanks being the ultimate evolution. It's believed that the first such Tsar grill was built from a T-72 with a jammed turret rotation mechanism, so field engineers figured out how to use the disabled tank again. It's unlikely they could foresee the effect their invention would have on the battlefield. It turned out that their mobile shed was impervious to drone attacks. It could move freely, ignoring them just as a beekeeper ignores bees flying around him, while paving the way with an attached mine-clearing device. Under its dome, it could carry a squad of up to 10 soldiers, who could disembark through improvised doors at the rear of the shed built over the tank. This allowed the assault troops to appear in the most unexpected places, providing the element of surprise. The experiment was successful, so today, just over 2 months after the first mention of the turtle tank, there are already several dozens of them. These machines have been spotted on many sections of the front. During one attack, several of these mobile sheds could operate simultaneously, supported by other vehicles. The latter were also not afraid of drone attacks, because powerful electronic warfare systems were installed under the domes of the Tsar grills, neutralizing guided munitions and breaking the communication channels between drones and their operators, causing them to crash en masse around the leading vehicle. It's important to understand that field engineering innovation does not stop at achieved successes. As noted by Forbes magazine in early May after the appearance of a new evolution of the turtle tank on the battlefields. The updated Warhammer 40,000 received even bigger grids on top of the welded-on shed as another layer of protection against drones. Additionally, it pushed a grand iron structure ahead of itself. This element turned out to be a KMT-7 mine roller, filmed from a favorable angle where it more resembles a diabolical roller with an additional EMT electromagnetic attachment. The principle of operation is as follows. The roller moves ahead, creating a track. When the rollers hit a mine, the explosion lifts the frame upwards, after which the roller's shock absorber compresses after the blast wave, resting on the tank's hull to absorb the energy. The rollers themselves are free-moving, not fixed anywhere, simply supported by chains. It should be noted that the KMT-7 is perhaps the toughest roller ever devised, because other rollers in the KMT series are based on a different principle. They do not detonate mines directly while moving, but instead till them, tossing them aside. Moreover, the new turtle tank and its KMT-7 are equipped with an EMT electromagnetic device. This device is an independent mine roller designed to clear anti-tank mines with target sensors that respond to the tank's magnetic field. 2 EMT electromagnets create a fake electromagnetic field in front of the tank, equivalent to the tank's field. The magnetic mine fuses respond to this and triggers an explosion before the tank approaches a dangerous distance. This allows for remote destruction of anti-tank mines. What doesn't explode is further dealt with by the roller. In general, this combination is very efficient, leaving no chance for mines. This further proved the belief that the experience with ZAR grills can be considered successful, and that they are indeed capable of solving tasks on the modern battlefield. And here's another recently appeared turtle tank based on the T-80BV. The shorter front section of the shed is immediately noticeable, presumably to provide greater mobility for the gun. The roof is equipped with the Lesachek electronic warfare system, and a KMT-6 mine roller is mounted this time. So how are turtle tanks used on the battlefield? As noted by Forbes, the tactic of the Russian army is that the turtle tank with additional improvised protection and a mounted mine roller leads the column, clearing the way for other combat vehicles which may carry troops, covering them from drones and self-guided ATGMs. From everything else, the ZAR grill is protected by tanks from the following group, and so it continues up to the positions, after which it's the assault unit's turn to do their job. The most important thing is that this tactic allows for ignoring FPV drones, launched literally by the thousands. Previously, these drones completely deprived assault units of armored support. It is enough to recall the experience of assault units on both sides since 2022, where no one had armor, even though it could cover or suppress, for example, an enemy machine gun. Therefore, they operated in small groups without cover, at their own risks. Now, thanks to the turtle tanks, it has become possible to move with mechanized columns once again, rewriting previously established rules of engagement. These sheds are also convenient for rotating personnel, supplying ammunition, and evacuating the wounded. This is also crucial for the survival of assault units. In general, one can state that these turtle tanks have revitalized a stagnant front. This is further confirmed by the statistics. About 50% of the vehicles destroyed by the Ukrainian army are victims of FPV and kamikaze drones. The overpraised at the beginning of the war ATGMs did not live up to expectations, accounting for no more than 5% of the losses. Javelins turned out to be ineffective as well. They are expensive and short in supply, while artillery faces a whole bunch of problems, primarily not the most rapid response and often low accuracy. Besides, the artillery units themselves frequently experience an acute shortage of shells. There are only two ways to protect against FPV drones: speed or armor. The former is being worked on, while the latter is the iron shed attached to the tank's armor. Perhaps advanced methods of breaching it will soon be developed, but as for now, none exist. However, the main problem with this solution is that such constructions completely kill the inherent potential of tanks, necessitating more technological solutions for combating drones that do not significantly reduce the tank's combat capabilities. What are the main drawbacks of a turtle tank? First, a tank completely enclosed with steel sheets can only turn its gun by 20 to 25 degrees, turning it into a slow and unwieldy self-propelled gun, unable to quickly respond to emerging threats. Second, if the gun has a limited firing arc, then the field of view is also correspondingly limited. In such a situation, primary targeting must be provided by assault troops or via drone. Good visibility is only available in the front, while nothing is visible on the sides. The driver has a similar issue, and judging by some footage, turtle tanks often move towards their target almost by radio signal, almost without direct visual contact. Although it is possible that cameras can be installed, which temporarily solves the problem until they are damaged in battle. Another risk factor is crew evacuation. If the vehicle is hit in the field, getting out from under their own shed's wreckage becomes quite difficult. So how do you combat a turtle tank? Considering the fact that the turtle tank is almost blind, it shouldn't be a great problem for the enemy troops to approach it without being noticed. Here is a recent video of Ukrainian troops capturing a Russian turtle tank and its crew. It is possible that if the tank had greater visibility capabilities, such a situation wouldn't have happened. Besides, enemy troops could approach it and simply throw grenades at it, or attach explosives just like in a video game. A Leopard tank could engage the Zargril, since its APFSDS rounds are not deterred by additional constructions. However, Leopards are rare machines not present in every unit. Moreover, turtle tanks never operate alone. ATGMs also pose a certain danger, but they will struggle because the turtle tank, in essence, has spaced armor with a spacing of over a meter, which is a significant barrier even for tandem warheads, which have not yet been designed for such large gaps between obstacles. Thus, the turtle tank is indeed a wonder weapon. It is situational and most likely relevant only at this stage, but due to these additional constructions, tanks have received a breath of fresh air. A year ago, they had no choice but to operate from covered positions like SPGs. Now, the tank is once again a means of breakthrough and assault, since they were initially designed for offensive tactics. For defense, they are almost useless unless it's an active defense or involves counterattacks. Therefore, all global publications are now sounding the alarm. The turtle tank is a huge and unexpected challenge to the current situation on the front. Let's see what happens next. If you liked the video, don't forget to share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, hit like, and click the bell so you don't miss new videos. Leave your thoughts on the Zargrils in the comments and let us know what topics you'd like to see in future videos. That's all for today. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.